Okay, so here's all my concealer collections at where I live. It is actually still a lot, and I'm gonna go through with each individual ones. I think there are a couple that I might be able to declutter, but this is not a decluttering video. It's more for just show you the collections of all my concealers and just tell you how I feel about them. Let's just quickly get them out, and then I'll put it on this little table. I'll have a look together. Alright, so this is all my concealers here, and I'll zoom in guys a little bit more. We're going to quickly talk about these two concealer palettes here because I bought both of these in China. I don't think you can get them, but one of this is a if you remember the NYX concealer palette, this is very similar, but they're also adding two creamy highlighter shades, which is not my favorite to be honest, but everything else I quite enjoying it. It's giving a quite high coverage, although it takes a little bit to blend. I like to use it before I put on foundation, so I really take the time to get the coverage that I want and then I apply things afterwards, because if you apply this particular creamy concealer sometimes after the foundation, you find it takes the foundation away a little bit, but I quite enjoy this one. And the other one is from a brand called Amy, their Perfect Cover. This is also a concealer palette. It's like 3 shades concealer here. I think this is a dupe or inspired by another Japanese brand. I can't really remember the name, but I just bought it because I think it looked quite similar and works well. I don't use it as often as the other one I just mentioned, but I do like they have given you a space here where you can just mix and match. It comes with a little brush as well. So I haven't had it for too long to decide whether I should keep it or leave it, so I'm just gonna keep it for now. And let's quickly go through all these jar concealers. I've got 2 Time Balm the Balm concealer in different shades. Oh, everything else is been rolling. I firstly got the one in the shade light medium, and I just fell in love with it straight away. The surface seems to getting a tiny bit of dry, but once you just scratch out, because I like this one so much, so I went out to bought a darker shade. This is in the shade medium. I don't use as often as the other one because it's actually a little bit too dark. This one's definitely more orangey in comparison. I still like it. I like it to use when I have a really dark circle before my foundation, but definitely the light to medium is a more matching shade in my opinion. I bought both of these from Target. I don't know if the Target still take the brand at the moment, but Adore Beauty having the Balm. Maybe Debbie Jones still have the brand the Balm. I don't know what happened to Balm in Australia. It seems to be like just fading out of the market. The other one that I've got, all the other concealers been rolling. And then we have the Pixi concealer. This is their correcting concentrate. I don't know if it's in the shade Awakening Apricot or this is the name of this concealer. I think I bought this because of Emily Noel. She really liked it. It's a peachy salmon sort of tone. You can see the difference between this one versus the Balm shade medium concealer. I found this one works better to cover the vessels that you see through underneath the skin. I actually don't have that issue. My dark circle is mostly because I haven't slept well. I found this one is a little bit too creamy to use it under the eye. I mean, creamy is a good thing, but it takes effort to blend under the eye and get it evenly, not crazing. And the other thing is I only use it to counteract, and I always have to pair a different concealer on top of it. And because this is so creamy, I feel it's adding a teeny tiny bit of heaviness for what I usually like, but I still really do like the shade. But I probably will not repurchase this for sure, and this one's gonna take me forever to finish. Now let's move on to these. I just quickly went out to the bathroom and grabbed the other e.l.f. concealer that I've got here, so I pretty much have 22 concealers now. We're going to talk about all these ones here. These are most likely, in my opinion, a full coverage concealer. Some of the others are almost like a medium to full, but these are definitely full coverage. Let's go through the Tarte one first. This is the Tarte Creaseless Concealer, and I've got in the shade, let's see, 20N. This is a travel size. This one only gives you 1 gram, and that's enough. I'm glad I didn't went out to buy the full size. I saw hot and flashy. Angie on her channel really liked it, and she is a more matured skin, so I really do trust her opinion in terms of concealers, particularly under the eyes, because I have a dry under eye. I used this and it's really a mixed feeling. You can tell the coverage is really good. It's definitely a full coverage, and the amount that I apply on the back of my hand is probably enough or more than enough for both of the under eyes. You really just need a teeny tiny bit. It's very creamy and yet very easy to be blended under the eye, and it covers so well for that entire day. There's no sort of crazing going on under the eye, nothing too crazy. Like for the coverage and with the crazing that you get, I think it's so good. But here comes the problem. Angie said it never dries under her eyes, and that's brilliant. That's something I want to have. However, I found it made my eyes super dry after each day. So once I take my makeup off, my under eye was literally cracked. It was so dry that I have to use, I remember the days that I was using this, I was using under eye mask, eye serums, and the layer of thick eye cream for 2 days to actually restore the hydration under my eye. So I definitely will not repurchase one of this, but I'm still not planning to get rid of it because of the finish and the coverage it provides. It is just unbeatable. So I think I'll only use for one of those occasions, like I really want my under eye to be flawless and I can't be bothered to care what's gonna happen afterward. There are certain times like that. I know it doesn't sound good. And then I'll make sure I really prep my eyes the days before I start using this. But I think it does achieve this creaseless sort of concealer as it claims, but it's not super hydrating. I just don't feel like it's good for your skin. And then very similarly, we have the e.l.f. 16 Hours Camel Concealer. This is a very light shade. I bought this one online and I thought I had a perfect match. Well, this is definitely not. I've got in the shade Light Peach. This is very similar to the Tarte one that I just mentioned. The amount that I put on the back of my hand is definitely more than what I need. I just need a teeny tiny bit. So I use this to brighten the under eye after I done my concealer. It gives a really good brightening effect, but it definitely creases a little bit more compared to the Tarte one, but there's a huge price differences. And similar effect after each day's use, really dry under eye. So I don't even know if I'll keep this one for long, because I've got another one from the Essence. This is their Camouflage Matte Concealer. This is in their shade 10 Light Rose. They've also come up with new shades, well, not so recently, probably last year. And I've got another like a matching shade, but that one was at home. This actually have a really similar effect to the e.l.f. one that I just mentioned. They both blend really well under the eye, and you just need a teeny tiny bit. The shade that I've got here for Essence, a little bit more on the pinkish undertone. The e.l.f. one definitely get a good undertone, but both of these shades are too light for me, so I only use it to brighten the under eye. So this one gives a good brightening effect as well, but it doesn't dry under my eye after each day's use. So if I have to compare these two, I'll definitely keep the Essence and I'll keep it in my collection. I probably even repurchase after I finish it, although for me to finish a concealer it can take forever because I have so many that you can see. But I'm not getting rid of it just yet because I want to do a comparison with the other e.l.f. one that I got. This is their Hydrating Camel Concealer. Alright, so the story of this one, I bought this online as well because they just don't have that many shades in store. I don't even think I saw this. Yeah, they definitely have it at Kmart, but I don't think they have many shades. So I just went online and I did another match myself, and this time I got the color Light Beige, and I think it's a little bit too dark actually. I can never make the shade working for me. This is definitely way too dark. It's even darker than some of my foundations. I don't know if you can tell. This is the other e.l.f. one, but this is much more hydrated. It's so easy to blend under the eye. It's not crazing. I really enjoy the formula, so I want to get another shade that matching my skin tone, and then I can actually use it as a concealer. I'm currently just using it. It's almost like a mixture with all the other foundations so far because it does provide a high coverage, but it's such a dark color. I just never get the right shade. The e.l.f. website, when you look at their concealers, it's ridiculously crazy. So if you ask me to pick one in between these two, Can you hear the motorcycle outside? It's crazy. What are you guys doing? Tearing the road? If you ask me to recommend one of these, I definitely say go for the hydrating camo concealer. The regular one, it is a little bit too dry. I think only if you have a really good preparation, or if you used the Tarte one before and that was fine, then I think you'll be alright with e.l.f. And then we've got this Makeup Forever Matte Velvet Skin. You can see I've actually used quite a bit of this. This one I've got in the shade 2.2 and this bottle got 9 mils. I think I've used nearly a half of it. So this is actually a new release from Makeup Forever, probably late last year. It comes with a big doe foot applicator, and I think I did a better shade match for this one. Oh, I think I got too much on the back of my hand. A lot of people found this one is really drying. I think it's on the drier side, but it's not as drying as the e.l.f. or the Tarte one that I used. It is drier than the Hydrating Camouflage Concealer for sure, but I do really like the coverage it provides and give this sort of, it says it's a velvet matte, so it's like a satin sort of finish in my opinion. The other thing I really like about this concealer, well, it's also suggested by its name, it says it's high coverage multi-use concealer. I like to use it to pair with my other foundations, like a lightening or darkening dropper, depends on what shade that you choose. It just adds this sort of coverage. Because this is such a high coverage, it will definitely make a light coverage foundation to a medium, medium to a full coverage, and it's not changing the finish of the foundation because this one is a matte but in a velvety sort of form, so it's really not changing much of the finish of the foundation whatever you're using. I really like this for mixing with other foundations, so I think I'll definitely keep this one, and I probably will repurchase, maybe get in a couple of different shades just to match with all the foundations that I've got. If you just use this under the eyes and you have a quite dry under eye, I think it might be a bit too heavy for you, but you can try to mix it with other things, even mix with other concealers. They're really hydrating, but maybe light coverage wise, it will build up the coverage a lot. Next up, we've got two IT Cosmetics Bye Bye Under Eye Concealer. One of their iconic ones and then one of their not new releases. Well, nothing is new in my collection. I'm trying to do no buy this year. This is an illuminating concealer. I really do like the black packaging, full coverage, anti-aging, waterproof concealer. I can probably put it in the full coverage category. I've got it in the shade 10. This is definitely way too dark. I have a shade medium at home. When I bought this, I bought two because I'm not quite sure which one I like. No, I think I saw a makeup artist was teaching you how to counteract in your under eye, and she suggested to get two shades. Once I used it, I think I can pretty much get away just with the medium, but you know, if you really want to counteract it first and then use the medium to sort of adding the coverage, seamlessly blend the shade, makes the under eye looks perfect, then definitely use two colors. But it's not cheap, so I guess for daily uses, one shade is enough. This one, the tanning shade, is a little bit having a reddish orangey tone over there. This is so hydrating and it can give you a full coverage. Although I only use the teeniest, the tiniest bit, so it really just gives me a medium to full coverage under the eye. It does crease under the eye, so what I do is wait until the crease is complete and then I just dab it with my finger and then set it with a powder. It will just stay on all day and it's not drying your under eye. This is definitely one of my favorite products here. I had it for a while, and I think because I only use so little of it, it's gonna take me forever to finish and actually to get a new one. I really do recommend this if you want to have a hydrating and able to build up full coverage concealer. At the end of the day, if you wear it for more than 8 hours or so, it looks just a tiny bit, I wouldn't say it's looking patchy, but you can see the concealer start to having a trouble holding under your eye. It's still hanging there, but it's just not as good as the first 8 hours. I still think it's really impressive. Concealer is so hydrating and providing a high coverage, and that is also why I went to buy this illuminating full coverage anti-aging waterproof concealer. I thought I like this luminous sort of effect underneath, and then I can just set with a regular powder and be all good to go. But you know what? This one is nowhere near close to the other one. This is the shade over here and this is their shade medium, I think. This is the shade 20 in medium. The shade definitely matching my skin a little bit better, and you can see it's having this luminous glow compared to the regular under eye concealer. This one creases crazy under my eye, and I waited like how I used the other one and set it, and it creases again. I don't know what about the formula, maybe because the illuminating ingredients within that's just making it so easy to crease. I really don't like it, and because it creases crazy and then it's illuminating version, it's just so obvious. It's like everyone's looking at this terrible crease under the eyes. I think what I'll do is I try to mix it with some very liquid foundation to see if I can use as a mixture with the foundation. I just bought this and it's expensive, so I'm not ready just to get rid of it yet. But if I couldn't work with the foundation, as into adding that sort of coverage as well as the luminosity, this is definitely gonna go. Next, let's look some of the light to medium sort of coverage concealers, and all of these are actually coming from the drugstore, because I think for a light coverage concealer, drugstore is doing a brilliant job. There's no need to actually go for a high end. First up, I've got two Maybelline's Instant Age Rewind Eraser. You don't have to say more of these. I've got one in the shade Honey, one in the shade Light. So this is the shade Honey. This is definitely way darker, but it's got that sort of orange undertone that I can use it to counteract my under eye. And here's the shade Light. This is more like a shade I would usually use for my under eye, having a little bit of yellow tone underneath, so it just covers a little bit. On a daily basis, I'll just go for this one. If I have the time, I'll mix these two together. This just received so much hype. I think they're good. There are brilliant sort of drugstore hydrating light to medium coverage concealer, but is it actually worth the hype that it beats all the other high end? I really don't know. This is actually my repurchase because they've changed their packaging. I've got their old version. I've actually got their white packaging, like very old version, and then they changed to this clear package, and now they've repackaged it again. So this is actually my third time purchasing this. Every time when I use it, I think it's okay. Like, I like it. Every time when I finish using this, I'll definitely see someone recommend it again. I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to get this again, and just to see how I feel. I figured last time I wasn't tested it out properly, but I always come back to the same conclusion. I think they're good, not good to a point that I should repurchase. So I definitely think this is my last time getting these two concealers. I will use them and I quite enjoy using them, but I do have other ones that I think I like a bit better. And then we have this Revlon Candid Antioxidant Concealer. I've got in the shade 025. This, I actually quite enjoyed it. It comes with a doe foot applicator. I absolutely love their foundation for sure. This one, the shade is sort of in between the two Maybelline's ones that I've got here. I really enjoy using this. It's giving me a light to medium coverage, but I don't think it can build up all the way to medium. It doesn't crease under my eyes. It sets perfectly. It's one of those really easy to use concealers that you don't have to put a lot of effort into it, and it's still giving a fairly good coverage and a really good finish. Although I don't think I'll repurchase one of this again, because I had another one that I quite enjoyed and I think I might enjoy just a little bit more. And this is a new one. This is the Max Factor Radiant Lift Long Lasting Radiant Concealer. This one also says contains vitamin C and E here, like hydrating skincare ingredients. I used this one in my recent testing new makeup and reviewed it in my final speedy review. I really enjoyed this. This is a 7ml product and I'm already like halfway through here. It comes with this spongy sort of applicator, and this sponge is actually stiffer than the Maybelline one. It's stiff but it's not hard. I've got in the shade Light. This is definitely a more hydrating formula, and I don't know if it has anything to do with the skincare ingredient within. It blends on the skin very easily and it's very hydrating. It does crease a little bit. You just quickly dab it and then you'll be fine after setting your under eye. And even if you don't set it, it doesn't look too crazy, but I'm someone like to set my under eye all the time. I found this one is just much more hydrating compared to the Revlon one, and the finish and everything else are very similar, although I've got two different shades, as you can tell. I have a terrible choice when it comes to concealer shades. I think I just enjoy this a little bit better compared to the Revlon one, so if I have to pick one out of the two, it's definitely the Max Factor. And then we have this Australia's Fresh and Flawless Concealer. I've got their foundation, pressed powder, and the concealer. I think I reviewed it a long time ago when I first started my channel. I said this is the least favorite among the everything else in their line. It is true. It is actually not as bad if you compare all the concealers that I've got. I've got in the shade Light. It's got this yellow undertone underneath. I don't think it's very light though, and they don't have as many shades for their concealer compared to their foundation. They definitely have way more bigger range for their foundations. It provides a light to medium coverage. It doesn't feel heavy. It creases a little bit under my eye, and then I can dab it and set it with a setting powder. It still creases a tiny bit, but it doesn't look too bad. However, it does not leave a particular impression in my mind. Like, I have this many concealer and I never think about using this one. I've got other concealers that I know the pros and cons. This one is, you know, based on all the description, is actually not bad, but I just never think of pick this one up for some reason. I think might be because I like the other two products way better than this, so I always just, when I think of Fresh and Flawless from Australia's, it's always the foundation or the pressed powder, particularly the pressed powder. So I never just come back to think, oh, I still have a concealer from the range. So I probably will not repurchase this, but I will finish this one off. And we have the e.l.f. Dual Concealer. This is a concealer versus a highlighter. The highlighter here is not my favorite. I don't think you can use it as a cream highlighter. It's more for one of those brightening or as a prepping base before you put on your actual highlighter. Like, you can use it around your cheeks before or after using the foundation, before setting your face, and then you add your regular highlighter just to emphasize it. I don't think this side is very impressive, but I really do like the other side. I've got in the color medium. This one, it comes in very liquidy form. To me, when I used this, I thought, oh my gosh, this is definitely one of really light coverage. It's just like water goes under the eye, but it's actually providing a light to medium coverage. I think I'm really impressed by the fact it's so lightweight and yet gives a really good coverage. I enjoy this one and I want to repurchase this, but I found this product is always on sale and then it always disappears on their website and it will come back. I don't know if I'll be able to get another one, and to be honest, I don't need another one, but I really enjoy the formula. It's so lightweight and it's not creasing under the eye, and it stays all day, well, pretty much all day. I'll say 6 hours around each time. If you want to have a really lightweight concealer and yet still giving you more than just a light coverage, you can definitely try this one out. They don't have many shades though. I've got a medium. I think they might have a light and they might have a darker shade. That's probably one downside about like drugstore concealers in general, but if you can make the shade working for you, then that will be good. This is definitely more on the orange side, so I sort of just counteract my under eyes and provide that bit of coverage. I do really enjoy this, but I don't see many people talk about this particular product. Alright, now we have for last, well actually I'll talk about this one quickly. This is the Revolution Supersize Conceal and Define Concealer. I received this in one of my Raisin Bella box. I've got in the color C10. For this one, I do have another two of their, I think it's the same range, but it's not called a Supersize. It's just their Conceal and Define Concealer. I got another two, bought it from the Revolution website, and they ship it all the way from the UK. This one I forgot to opt in my shade, so I've got a really dark shade. It comes with a huge doe foot applicator. This shade is ridiculous. I can't even use it as a contouring shade. I tried the other day. It actually gives a bit of reddish tone underneath. So I can't use it as a foundation, can't use it as a contour, definitely cannot use it as a concealer. The only way that I can make it work if I have a super fair foundation and then I mix this to darken the shade a little bit. But you know what, if you see my foundation collection, you realize a lot of my foundation shades are actually darker than my skin tone. Some of them because I just picked the wrong shades, and I also found since I started using like vitamin C's, just introducing all these new skincare into my skincare routine in the last couple 2 years, my skin tone actually even out a lot better. So I'm not as dark as I used to be. So this is actually gonna be so tricky for me to work. I'm gonna to see if I have any foundation that I can mix with. Otherwise, I'll declutter this for sure. It's just in the wrong shade. It feels really hydrated though. And the other two that I had, I enjoyed it. You don't need a lot, you just need a tiny bit. But it's not providing like a full coverage in my opinion. When I use this, I just use one single dab under the eye and it's giving me a medium coverage. If I add more, the finish is very makeup key. And now we have 3 really light coverage concealer. First, let's talk about this YSL one. I'm sure if you don't have it, you probably had it before, or at least you've heard it. It's just one of those, you know, iconic product back in the days. I don't think I'll repurchase one of these. Definitely not. It's their illuminating pen, and I've got in the color 2. I believe I got this for a Christmas holiday set. It's really just a very light coverage. It's really designed for people who don't have much of an under eye issue, so you have nothing to cover and you just want to brighten up a little bit. I'll say the good thing about this is because it's very lightweight, it doesn't look too heavy under the eye. I still crease under my eye though, so I just have to make sure I dab it and then set it with a powder. I just don't think, for the people who doesn't have much of under eye issues, you really don't need, like, this is not a necessary product in your collection. So I have under eye issues. I want to cover my dark circle. This is not doing that. I definitely will not repurchase. This is just me trying to hop on the train of getting all these popular products. And then we have this Thursday Plantation Tea Tree Blemish Stick. I reviewed this in my recent Thursday Plantation skincare review in detail. This is like a 3-in-1 stick, which they have tea tree to dry out the pimples, manuka honey to get rid of the scars, and also having a mineral concealer. The problem is I use it as a concealer. Well, I don't think it's a skincare. I mean, it's mixed with skincare ingredient, but it's still a concealer. I think it doesn't provide much of coverage at all. I use it on top of all my red, pimple or acne because it's got such a good tea tree and manuka honey ingredients in there. And you know, when you're having pimple, those spots are usually very red or at least hyperpigmented so bad that this sort of light coverage will cover nothing at all. The good thing is it's not having a very strong tea tree scent, so it won't sting even if you use it around your eyes if you have pimples around there. I might just use it up because I do really like the ingredient and I literally just got it. So the way I'm thinking about this is just to add a bit of coverage onto the area of my pimple and acne because it's a mineral concealer before I actually use my proper concealer. So I am protecting those pimples a little bit. I'm not quite sure if it's actually worked that way, but I feel like I am a little bit secured in that sense, so I'm not putting cosmetic directly on top of the pimples. I definitely will not repurchase and I don't recommend. If you wanted to have a concealer, just go for like a proper concealer here. If you want to use a tea tree, go for their medical gel after you remove everything before you go to sleep. That one works way better. And the last but not least, we have this Bourjois Paris Healthy Mix Anti-Fatigue Concealer. I've got in the color 53 dark. I don't know why I choose this color dark. I probably can choose a lighter shade. This is more as a foundation shade in my opinion now. I've used up their Healthy Mix original formula foundation. That one oxidized crazy on my face. I didn't finish that one completely, but because it was creasing so much, I ended up just getting rid of it. I've got a new bottle of this foundation and I haven't used it enough to know how I feel, but I remember it was very similar to their old formula, and same here with their concealer. This one actually not oxidized as much as their foundation, but it does not provide a lot of coverage. It comes with a signature fruit scent. It sort of creases under my eye, but I can sort of stab it and then set with my setting powder, then I'll be fine. Because it's so light coverage, it doesn't last that long under my eye. When I use a concealer, I really want to cover some of my issues, my skin problems. This is not providing that sort of function that I want from a concealer, so I definitely will not repurchase this. However, it smells really good. I might just try to use it a little bit more before it gets oxidized too much. it takes me a bit of effort to actually close this, but that is all my concealer collections here. Like I said, I'm not actually decluttering anything. This is more showing you the collection and tell you how I feel about them if you are interested in looking for some like concealers to choose from the Australian drugstore. I will do a declutter after I got all the rest of my concealers from home, and then when I combine them together, I'll make sure I definitely declutter some. I know this is way too much for my under eye, and I usually just use a concealer for my under eye areas. I rarely cover the pimples. I do sometimes, but not as often as I do my under eye. But that is everything for today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to give me a thumbs up and consider subscribe down below. I will do more like makeup collection videos because like I said, I am moving, and once I moved, I will merge the other half collection as well, and then we'll start doing declutter. So there's a lot of these coming up. If you like these sort of content, don't forget to subscribe and leave your comments down below, whatever you think. Don't be too harsh on me. I know I'm bad at these, but I like collecting them. These make me happy. Anyway, that's all for today. I hope you have had a great day, and let's stay safe and stay positive. I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.